Yeah, hello everyone. Okay, just a few housekeeping. This call is recorded, so if anyone is sharing their video and doesn't want to appear in the video subsequently, because we'll be uploading the video to YouTube, please you can turn off your camera if you are not comfortable with the video being publicly uploaded. Awesome. Good day, everyone. Welcome to our second webinar for the Inclusive Naming Initiative. We hold this webinar quarterly. That's every last week of the quarter, so that we can share some of the awesome work we've been doing in the inclusive naming community, and also speak about important topics around inclusivity and not just naming, but also around inclusivity in general. And for this webinar, we'll be talking about preserving languages and identity in a digital world. It's because of the globalization and how English has been the dominant language in the world, and how technology is largely based around English. It becomes difficult for people to be able to learn and preserve their language. So we'll be learning more about this and a whole lot more from our speaker, Aisha. Now, before that, once again, let me share my screen to talk more about the great work we are doing in the inclusive naming community. It'll take a few minutes to share my screen. Desktop 2, share screen. Okay, awesome. The inclusive naming community is largely there to help projects and companies to make consistent and responsible choices to remove harmful language from technology and from our day-to-day use in general. And you can see a lot of the work that we've done via the word list. In the word list, we have 3 categories of recommendations that we're giving. These are not more like a statement for how people should use language, but a recommendation on how they can improve how they use the language for technology or for daily use. So we have 3 tiers. The first tier is language that we recommend people to replace immediately because they have either there's a strong consensus within community for it to be removed, or it has some negative meaning attached to them. And we also have strongly consider, especially those that have views that against underrepresented minority and others. Then for tier 3, it's recommended for it to be replaced, but no strong opinion much about it. Now, and on the right here, we have a list of words that have already been added to our word list, a couple of them, and we are working on more. I think recently we added hallucination, or we updated hallucination. I think with AI becoming more prominent and AI systems we've been seeing some of the advantages and disadvantages of AI system. Hallucination has been a major source because it seems people, instead of accepting some of the faults of AI as just being a bug or being some issues in the system, the word hallucination is being used to make it sound less of a problem. So, and because the word hallucination is normally used for people or a certain community who might either be dealing with drugs or dealing with certain other things, it is recommended to not use hallucination, and you can learn more on our website. And how do we make decisions around this? We have the language evaluation page. Let me see, handbook. In our handbook, we have the language evaluation framework, that guides the principles of how we determine if a term should go to tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3. So we have the first order of concerns, and does the term perpetuate bias or stereotype in a manner that is harmful in any historically underrepresented group of people, or is it overtly disparaging any historical underrepresented group of people, or is the term loaded or problematic? There are certain terms that they can have a lot of meaning depending on usage and context. So, and in using it in certain technology context might be okay, but in certain contexts might mean something else. So, and key important question is, the key important question that we ask for something to fall in tier 1 is, does the term refer to a group of people in context outside technology? Is the term potentially disparaging in some context? And in discussion of the term, our opinions strongly split. If they are, if it's a yes to these questions, then it should be a tier 1. Then for tier 2, we have key questions like, does the term have militaristic connotations? Does the term or phrase have historical use either inside or outside technology context that someone can easily identify? Is the term classist, or is the term strongly associated with one gender? And this will fall in tier 2. Then the third order, the term is unclear, it uses metaphor, or a more precise word is available. That is when tier 3, a term will fall into tier 3. So you can explore more about the word list by going under the word list menu on the inclusive naming website to see all of our terms. Now, if you to be a part and to contribute to some of the activities of the initiative, you can either become an advocate. An advocate is someone who actively engages anytime we have new term submissions. They get emails, they help us to review the submissions, and when they are ready, we publish them on the website. Some other things that advocates help with include content creation for our blog, or anytime we have webinars like this. So if you would like to be an advocate, you can go on our website, and we have a call for participation form that you can fill. And the commitment is less than an hour or less a week, because even sometimes for a long time, there might not be no activity, but you definitely get emails. Emails from us if there's anything or updates around things happening in the community. If you want to join the general community, you can join our Google Mail group, or join us on Slack. You can also get abreast of a lot of things that is going on by following our calendar or our social media channel. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them in chat. Without wasting too much time, I would like to invite our speaker for today's session, Aisha, to get started with her session. She's currently having issues with her camera, so she might not be able to come on, but her presentation should be up any moment. Let me stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Aisha. Hello, Aisha, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you. I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another beautiful episode of the Inclusive Naming Initiative webinar titled Voices at Risk, Preserving Language and Identity in the Technological Era. My name is Aisha Shaibu Salami, and I'm honored to serve as both your host and a speaker today. So I wear many hats, but beyond all of that, I'm an individual who believes that language is not just a tool for communication, it's an archive of our identity. Let me begin with the truth. When a language dies, a worldview dies, a culture dies, an identity dies. We live in an era where technology is advancing rapidly, we live in an era where technology is advancing rapidly, and hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We lost you for a few seconds, but I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. So we live in an era where technology is advancing rapidly, artificial intelligence, voice assistants, all these tools shape how we talk and remember things. But here's the thing, the algorithm that runs our apps and the data that trains our AI are usually biased towards the languages that dominate the internet. So what happens to the hundreds of languages rich in cultural wisdom, but largely invisible online? This is the crisis that I believe we're here to talk about today. Okay, so why is language our identity? Language is not just words, it's emotions, it's memory. You know, when you're being called in your language, it kind of feels different. There's that sense of belonging or recognition that you feel. Language carries our moral codes through folktales and proverbs. It carries our grief, our joys in ways that English sometimes cannot hold. I don't know, you know, for us in Africa, when there's this thing that when, you know, when you're grieving or when you're feeling joyful and all that, and you're trying to pray, you switch. There's a level to which you get to that you switch to your language. So that's what, you know, when you're prayed for or when you're scolded or celebrated in your language, the feeling is deeper. So a language is like a fingerprint. It marks us, it shapes us, and it connects us to our past. So when you have a child who learns how to, you know, code in Python or builds applications, but is never taught how to speak his or her own language, that's an erasure of an identity. Like it doesn't have to be this way. We can use this same technology to preserve, teach, and promote our languages. So, sorry, I'm trying to change my screen. Sorry, I'm just trying to go to the next slide. Okay, so how technology threatens our languages. Technology, like I said, is not the enemy, but it reflects the values and priorities and data that we feed into it. Our languages are often invisible in voice assistants. Like a child, you know, might ask Siri something in a particular language and it gets a meaningless reply. And over time, that child begins to feel like, oh, my language has no place in technology. And for many languages, keyboards don't even work smoothly. Autocorrect insist on rewriting names into something else. Like if you type Christiana, or if you type Chidima, autocorrect can change it to Christiana, or if you type Damilola, autocorrect gives you Daniela. So you would agree with me that every correction is a quiet form of erasure. Social media algorithms reward English. A video in another language is always suppressed. A video made in English gets more visibility than a video that is made in a local language. So it feels like the subtle message here is for you to be seen, speak English. For you to get more visibility, speak English. And that constant system slowly conditions people to abandon their own voices. So the hope, technology as a tool for revival. These same tools that erase languages can also elevate them if we choose to use them differently. Language apps like Duolingo or Google Translate and other translation tools are doing more than teaching words. They are bridging communication gaps and they are breathing life into voices that were once on the margins, you know, giving people the joy of seeing their own identity reflected in global platforms, and also reminding us that technology has the power to not just connect us, but to make us feel seen. So when someone sees their language on a platform, it's not just, you know, it feels like well, I don't want to say it feels like an achievement, but it's, you feel like you feel this sense of belonging, and there's this pride that you just feel. So if technology can erase us, it can also restore. It cannot, if it can silence, it can also amplify. And the question here is, how will we choose to use technology? So what we must do, sorry. Okay, so what we must do, the revival of these languages will not happen by accident. It requires intentional acts. Each of us, each and every one of us has a role to play. So as individuals, I believe if you speak your daily language at home or in public spaces, don't reserve it only for special occasions. Teach your children, not just greetings, but songs, maybe proverbs, folk tales, or something like that. This carries wisdom that cannot be replaced. Celebrate your language publicly, post captions in it, share jokes. Don't shy away from, correcting gently when others feel embarrassed to use it. Speak your language with pride, because every time you do, you normalize it. Now, as a digital creator, create content in your language, short videos, reels, podcasts, even blogs. The internet is an archive, and every post matters. So use subtitles to bridge audiences so that others can appreciate your content while your own people connect deeply to it. Use local language hashtags, because each click kind of trains the algorithm to recognize your language. So remix, you can also remix traditions into trends. You can turn proverbs into graphics, turn stories into animations, turn lullabies. You can, all those things. Let the culture evolve with technology. So as educators or community leaders, demand that schools integrate mother tongues into early learning, because children learn better when they start in their language. Organize language clubs, storytelling nights, cultural competitions, where children and adults can take pride in their voices. Encourage parents to speak their languages freely at home rather than hiding them. Support community radio stations as well, maybe churches, mosques, cultural centers, and local events that use indigenous languages. So as tech professionals and advocates, push for inclusion at every level of innovation. Work with open source communities, train AIs in languages, and let no tongue be considered too small for the internet. We can also build chatbots, virtual assistants, and even educational tools in diverse languages, because the future of technology must reflect in the diversity of the human, like, let's languages reflect in these things. Lobby for tech companies to prioritize linguistic diversity the same way they prioritize global markets. So we can also partner with universities and researchers and all these cultural custodians to preserve oral traditions before they disappear. Because the truth is, we cannot wait for someone else. Each of us, in whatever role we occupy, we can plant seeds of preservation. If each of us acts now, the collective impact will be powerful enough to ensure our voices are not erased. So my call to action will be this week, make it a point to share or to post in your language. Teach someone around you a new word or a phrase. Seek out or even create a digital community dedicated to keeping language alive. Whatever you can, support, amplify the voices of creators who are making content in local languages. Together, every small act becomes part of a larger movement to keep our languages living, breathing, and thriving. Thank you very much.
Awesome. That's a very good one. I think local languages is a very essential part of our identity. And one thing, as someone who speaks 4 to 5 languages, I've seen how you interact, how you respond, how you even how you carry yourself changes. I used to tell a funny story. There was a time I was traveling. I think I was traveling to Saudi Arabia, and the airline that was taking us took off from Lagos, Nigeria, where people are predominantly Yoruba, and it came to Kano in northern Nigeria to pick passengers. And there was a time in the plane when uh, the attendant was speaking, was making an announcement about how people should not litter the I think the aisle. And the way she was communicating it in English was professional, was good to hear. But when she switched to the local language Yoruba, it felt very rude and condescending. I'm like, it's the same message, but the way they were communicated was totally different. So that is how powerful losing our language is. I know that it might be because of how they are trained. They are trained in English. They know how they have, it's already part of them to communicate in English. So switching to a local language probably felt off, and she just communicated the way she could communicate. So we don't have any question in chat. If you have any question, you can ask. Would like to do icebreaker. How many languages do you speak? What are the languages, and from which country? I will start. You can drop it in chat. Let's all learn about our local languages. For me, I speak Yoruba. Yoruba is my native language. I speak Hausa. Yeah, I've lived most of my life in northern Nigeria. I speak a little Arabic. I'm learning Dutch from the Netherlands. Very tiny, bitty, tiny French. A little French from going to France a number of times. So those are the languages that I know. How about you all? You can drop them in chats. I think we have a number of people. Okay, Aisha speaks Yoruba, Hausa, Kanuri, and Ibia. Wow, that's interesting. All from Nigeria. Yeah, and one thing about learning a language is that I've learned is it opens up your mind to different possibilities from something you're used to before, how to think, how to I was telling someone that anytime I'm thinking in my head, I think in English. Anytime I'm praying, I pray in I pray in Yoruba. Anytime I'm basically different different ways your brain handle things. There are certain tasks in the brain that are better handled in a language in my head. Okay, we have okay, Fatima is saying I'm learning Portuguese, I speak English, Yoruba, and Spanish. That is interesting. Elena speaks Italian, German, English, French, and some Spanish. Wow, that is interesting. That's one thing with a lot of people in Europe, native Europeans. They were like, yeah, I don't speak a lot of languages, and they would drop like 4 or 5 languages that they speak. Are like, okay, if you now want to speak a lot, how many will it be? I've met a lot of people like that. I'll be like, hey, I speak Dutch, I speak Italian, I speak this. I'm like, wow, that is impressive. Uh, okay, I do not speak my father's native language, Latin. Okay, in the Central Alps. That's Central Alps. That's around Switzerland or where? I usually forget where Alps is located. Okay, Italy. Wow, nice, nice. Uh, 30,000 speakers. Wow, it's a dying language, I guess. So we also have Awal speaks Hausa, Little Arabic, and Yoruba. We have Khadija speaks Yoruba, Hausa, English, and also learning Spanish. That is interesting. So awesome. While we are getting more entries, once again, I would like to apologize for the mix-up we had in time. time zone is a mess. I think the cause of it was me not after traveling to Nigeria from the Netherlands, I forgot to change my time to Nigerian time. And when I was booking the invite, I forgot to select UTC. So I ended up booking the time in CEST, that is Central European Summer Time, and everyone got the wrong time. So changing it back, we try to make sure we stick to UTC because UTC is easier for everyone to coordinate to their own local time zone. Setting it in a specific time zone ends up messing up scheduling. And on our webinar website, we try as much as possible to make sure we add more time zones to cover most people from our community. There's a lot of progress we are making in the inclusive naming community. It's slow, but anything open source and community driven is definitely slow moving, but high impact because a lot of people are depending on the terms we're creating and building their systems and creating a more inclusive community. Yeah, Tara speaks English, Hausa, Kogoro. Okay, it's Southern Kaduna. That's nice. I passed through Southern Kaduna yesterday when I was driving, and I'm learning French. That's nice. If you're interested in joining our community, please, you can go to our website, inclusivenaming.org/participate. You will see the Become Advocate button on our website. At most 1 hour of your time weekly, you get emails. Anytime there's an activity, you get emails and we say, okay, we have a new term we want to review, or we have some new updates in the community. And if anyone is interested in creating content about inclusivity or inclusive naming that they want to share with our community, we would love to have your content. I have not seen any question in the chat, but I love the awesome conversation that we are having. And I'll also go and search for Ladin to see maybe I can be the 30,001 and first person to speak the language. Yeah, Elena, you want to ask a question? May I ask a question? Do you have language or terminology experts in the community? It's hard to say. I know we have certain people who are members of the inclusive panel of the IEEE. I also know some people that are very top senior in certain organizations. I think I was looking at some email earlier. Let me see. Let me quickly check something and confirm. Let me share my screen. I was looking at this thing that was shared by a member of our community earlier. It's a new standard that was established by the IEEE. It's for those that don't know, it's an IEEE is International Electronic something. They are a very major organization in the world that established most of the standards that we use around the world. So, and one of our members is contributed to this standard that was just established, and she's an executive director of the Social Web Foundation. So we have a number of people, and I know someone from EA Games based in the UK who is also a member of the community and leads their language things there. So I am not sure if we have specific experts in that, but we have a lot of people that do a lot of great work in terms of language. I hope that answers your question, Elena. Okay, Peter, I speak English, Yoruba, Hausa, and learning Arabic. That's nice. Can I add a language? I will also, yeah, Elena, I will also share the article in the post-event email so that members of the community can know some great work that our community members are doing. So I will share this article. Can I write an article about language and have it published on your platform? Yes, definitely. We are always looking for content to publish, and our LinkedIn is very active. I will share more resources about all the different things we've been doing and how you can learn more about them in the post-event email. We are 2 minutes past time. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It was great having this. Once again, we will download this video, or sorry, not download, we'll upload this video on YouTube later and share it with the community. If you have any questions, you can join our Slack. I'll share all those that signed up. I'm going to send an email with a link to the video and a link to some other resources that are from the community. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.